I never imagined my life would flip upside down at 2 in the morning, mop in hand, on the executive floor of Croft Enterprises. 1 second, I was invisible, just Leah, a janitor scrubbing after people who earn in 60 minutes what I scrape. Together in half a year. The next, I was unwillingly engaged to Alexandra Croft, the city's most ruthless CEO. It happened when I stumbled into her office and overheard her tearing into someone on the phone, her voice sharp with fury. She was exhausted, drowning in pressure, and furious over yet another arranged proposal from a business ally. In her frustration, she barked out that she'd marry the next person who walked through her door rather than endure one more vulture. Circling her fortune. That's when I knocked over my cleaning cart. Alexandra saw me standing there with my mop, looking like I'd rather disappear into the marble floor. Instead of apologizing for the outburst, she pointed at me and declared we were engaged. I thought she was joking until her assistant arrived, and she doubled down on the whole thing. Now I'm trapped playing the role of fiancée to a woman who didn't even know my name yesterday. She's gorgeous, brilliant, and completely out of my league. The press is going crazy over our engagement story. Her board of directors wants her to marry strategically for business. And here I am, a Mexican-Filipina dropout who cleans toilets for a living. The worst part is I'm starting to fall for her, even though I know she'll dump me the moment this arrangement stops being convenient. I'm just the janitor who got lucky. Right before we start this story, buckle up, get ready, and subscribe for a special surprise tomorrow. The executive floor of Croft Enterprises at 2 o'clock in the morning is a graveyard of ambition. Glass offices stretch down the hallway like tombs, each one housing the remnants of another 18-hour workday. The only sounds are the soft squeak of my mop against marble and the distant hum of the building's ventilation system. This is my world. The invisible hours when I clean up after people who wouldn't notice me if I burst into flames in their reception area. I've been working the night shift here for 3 years, long enough to know which executives leave their coffee cups growing mold, which ones have secret bottles of antacids in their desk drawers, and which ones cry at their desks when they think no one is watching. Tonight feels different, though. There's an energy in the air, like the building itself is holding its breath. Alexandra Croft's office sits at the end of the hall like a throne room. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city, and even at this hour, the lights are still on. I can hear her voice through the heavy wooden door, sharp and cutting through the silence. She's always here late, always fighting some battle that apparently can't wait until morning. I push my cart closer, not because I'm trying to eavesdrop, but because her office is next on my cleaning route. The woman terrifies most people in this building, but she's never even looked at me long enough to register my existence. I'm furniture. To people like her, useful but forgettable. Her voice gets louder, and I can make out words now. She's on the phone, and she sounds furious. Robert, I don't care if your son graduated from Harvard Business School. I wouldn't marry him if he was the last man breathing oxygen on this planet. I freeze, my mop halfway across the marble. This sounds like a conversation I definitely shouldn't be hearing. The board can pressure me all they want, she continues, her voice rising. I'm not going to marry some calculating suit just to make their merger dreams come true. These men don't want a wife. They want a business acquisition. I should leave. I should push my cart to the other end of the hall and come back in an hour when she's hopefully done with whatever crisis is eating her alive tonight. But something keeps me rooted in place. Maybe it's the raw pain in her voice, or maybe it's just morbid curiosity about how the other half destroys their lives. Don't you dare threaten me with another board meeting. Robert, I built this company from nothing while you were still playing golf with Daddy's friends. The sound of something hitting the wall makes me jump. I'm so sick of these calculating jerks. I'll marry the very next person who walks through that door before I marry another. One of these vultures. That's when disaster strikes. My elbow catches the handle of my cleaning cart, and the whole thing tips over with a crash that echoes through the hallway like a gunshot. Bottles of cleaning solution hit the marble floor. The mop bucket clangs against the wall, and my heart stops beating entirely. The office goes silent. I scramble to right the cart, but it's too late. The door swings open like the gates of judgment, and there she stands. Alexandra Croft in all her terrifying glory, her dark hair slightly messed. From running her fingers through it, her designer blouse wrinkled from a day that probably started before sunrise. She's holding a crystal tumbler with what looks like whiskey, and her green eyes are blazing with the kind of fury that makes grown executives wet themselves. For a moment, we just stare at each other. She's probably wondering how long I've been standing outside her office, and I'm wondering if I can disappear into the marble floor through sheer force of will. She's beautiful in that untouchable way that powerful women perfect. All sharp edges and controlled elegance. Even disheveled and clearly drunk on stress, she looks like she stepped out of a magazine. "You," she says, pointing at me with her tumbler. "You walk through my door." I blink at her, still crouched next to my fallen cart. "I'm sorry, Miss Croft. I was just cleaning and I didn't mean to disturb you. I can come back later." She takes a step closer and I can smell her perfume mixed with whiskey and desperation. "What's your name?" The question catches me off guard. In 3 years of working in this building, she's never spoken directly to me. I didn't think she even knew I existed. Leah Cruz, Leah. She says it like she's testing how it sounds. "Leah, do you know what I just said to that waste of oxygen on the phone?" I shake my head even though I heard every word. Getting caught eavesdropping on the CEO seems like a fast track to unemployment. She drains the rest of her whiskey and sets the glass on my cart. I said I'd marry the next person who walked through my door. And here you are walking through my door. A laugh escapes before I can stop it. "Miss Croft, I think you might need some coffee instead of whatever you've been drinking." But she doesn't laugh. Instead, she looks at me with those sharp green eyes and says, "Fine you, we're engaged." No, I'm sure she's lost her mind. "Ma'am, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding." She pulls out her phone and starts dialing. "Chloe, I don't care that it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Get to the office now. I need you to draft a press release." I scramble to my feet, abandoning my cleaning supplies. "Miss Croft, please. I'm just the janitor. You can't be serious about this." She holds up one finger to silence me while she talks into the phone. The headline should read, "Alexandra Croft announces engagement to longtime company employee Leah Cruz. Something about finding love in unexpected places." Make it sound romantic, not insane. This is really happening. The most powerful woman in the city just declared us engaged to her assistant, and I'm standing here in my faded uniform, holding a dirty mop like some kind of discount. "Cinderella." "Miss Croft," I try again, but she's already hung up and is looking at me like I'm a puzzle she needs to solve. "You can call me Alexandra now," she says, since we're engaged and all. I set down my mop and take a deep breath. "Alexandra, you don't even know me. You don't know anything about me. I know you work hard. I know you're here every night making sure this place runs smoothly. I know you have a good work ethic because you've been employed here for years without any complaints." She starts pacing her office like a caged animal. That's more than I can say for most of the men my mother keeps throwing at me. But I'm not a man, I point out, wondering if the stress has finally broken her brain entirely. She stops pacing and looks at me with something that might be amusement. "No, you're definitely not. That's actually a bonus at this point." Heat climbs up my neck. She noticed. Of course she noticed. I've spent 3 years trying to be invisible, and apparently I've failed spectacularly at that too. "Miss Croft, Alexandra, I don't think you've thought this through." "I've thought about nothing else for months," she says, sinking into the chair behind her massive desk. "The board wants me married before the Henderson merger goes through. They think it will make me seem more stable, more trustworthy, like I need a man to validate my business decisions." "So you're going to marry your janitor instead? Why not?" She spreads her hands like this makes perfect sense. "You're honest, hardworking, and you're not trying to steal my company. Plus, you've seen me at my worst, screaming into my phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you haven't run away screaming yet," I mutter. She laughs, and the sound transforms her entire face. For a moment, she doesn't resemble the ice queen who makes executives cry in boardrooms. She looks like a woman who's drowning and just found something to cling to. Look, Leah, she says, leaning closer. I need someone I can trust, and you need a better job than mopping floors. This could work for both of us. You want to marry me to win a business merger? I want to marry you to avoid wedding Robert Henderson's sociopathic son. She rises and circles her desk until she's standing before me. What do you say? Want to help me stick it to a bunch of old men who think women need husbands to be taken seriously? This is crazy. This is the sort of thing that happens in films, not to Mexican Filipina college dropouts who clean offices for a living. But seeing her face, noticing the desperation hidden behind her confident mask, I understand she's serious. Alexandra Croft, the woman who could buy and sell small nations, is begging me to rescue her. What exactly are you proposing? I ask, hating that I'm truly considering this. A business arrangement? We get engaged, act the happy couple for a few months until the merger is complete, then quietly separate. You get a substantial financial payment for your time, and I get the board off my back. And if I refuse, she shrugs, but I notice the tension in her shoulders. Then you return to mopping floors, and I find another way to manage this mess. I glance around her office at the leather chairs that cost more than I earn in half a year, at the city view I'll never afford to enjoy. Then I study her, really study her, and see something I know. She's terrified. Beneath all that power and money and designer clothing, Alexandra Croft is just as scared as I am. How much financial payment are we discussing? The next morning feels like waking up in another person's life. I'm seated in Alexandra's executive conference room at 9 a.m., wearing the same uniform I had on when this whole mess began, watching her assistant Chloe type rapidly on her laptop. The press release went out 3 hours ago, and apparently, the internet has opinions about Alexandra Croft's surprise engagement. The reaction has been largely positive, Chloe states, not glancing up from her screen. Stock prices are up 2%, and we've already received calls from 3 major business publications wanting exclusive coverage. Alexandra sits opposite me looking like she actually slept last night instead of making life-changing choices at 2 a.m. She's wearing a navy blue suit that likely costs more than my car, and her hair is pulled into a perfect bun. The only hint of last night's chaos is a slight tightness around her eyes. Leah, we need to go over logistics, she says, pushing a thick folder across the table. Our first public appearance is tonight at the Henderson Industries charity gala. I gaze at the folder like it might bite me. Tonight, I thought we'd have time to prepare. Time is a luxury we lack. The Henderson merger announcement is in 2 weeks, and we need to establish our relationship as believable before then. She opens her own copy of the folder. Chloe has assembled everything you need to know about me, my company, and our supposed relationship history. I flip through the pages, my head spinning. There are pictures of Alexandra at different events, detailed timelines of her professional successes, and even a fabricated account of how we met. According to this version of reality, we've been secretly seeing each other for 8 months after. I assisted her during a late-night emergency at the office. This says I have a degree in business administration, I point out. You do now, Alexandra states matter-of-factly. Chloe has been very thorough in building your new background. We can't have people thinking I'm marrying someone without the proper qualifications. But I dropped out of college to support my family. I never completed my degree. Alexandra's expression softens a little. That's your real story, Leah. This is your cover story. There's a difference. Chloe clears her throat. We also need to address your wardrobe situation. I've booked appointments with 3 different stylists this afternoon. I glance down at my faded uniform shirt and laugh. I guess this doesn't scream CEO's fiancée. Not exactly, Alexandra concedes. But we're not trying to change who you are. Just present a version of you that fits into this world. The next few hours pass in a whirlwind of measurements, fabric swatches, and makeup consultations. The stylists treat me like a fascinating project, debating color palettes and silhouettes while I stand there feeling like a dress-up doll. Alexandra vanishes for most of it, handling real business while I get made over into someone who might plausibly be engaged to her. When she returns, I'm standing before a three-way mirror, wearing a black cocktail dress that feels like liquid. Silk on my skin. The stylist has worked magic with my hair, turning my usual messy braid into a sleek updo that makes my neck look longer. The makeup is subtle but effective, highlighting my eyes without making me seem like a different person. Alexandra pauses in the doorway and stares. For a second, the confident CEO mask slips, and I see something unguarded in her expression. You look beautiful. Heat rises up my neck. It's just the dress and makeup. No, she says, moving nearer. It's not just the dress. The stylist and Chloe exchange knowing looks that make me want to vanish into the floor. This is supposed to be a business deal, but the way Alexandra is looking at me doesn't feel professional at all. We should review the story again, I say, desperate to break the tension. I don't want to ruin this tonight. Alexandra nods, but her gaze is still doing something that makes my stomach flutter. Right? The story? The charity gala is held at the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, the kind of place I have only seen in films. Crystal chandeliers hang from a ceiling that's probably taller than my entire apartment. And the guest list reads like a who's who of influential people I've only seen on magazine covers. Alexandra leads me through the crowd with her hand on the small of my back, presenting me as her fiancé like it's the most normal thing in the world. Leia, I'd like you to meet William Thorne from Thorne Financial. She tells a silver-haired man holding what looks like very costly whiskey. William, this is my fiancée, Leah Cruz. William's handshake is firm, but his eyes are shrewd. Congratulations to you both. I must admit, Alexandra, this engagement was quite a shock. The best things usually are, Alexandra replies smoothly. Leah has been keeping me grounded for months. I finally realized I'd be insane to let her go. The lie flows off her tongue so effortlessly that I nearly believe it myself. When William moves on to corner some other executive, I lean closer to Alexandra. You're really good at this. Years of practice, she murmurs. Stay close to me and follow my lead. Most of these people care more about being seen with me than actually hearing what we say. She's right. For the next hour, we work the room like a team. Alexandra handles the business talk while I smile and nod at appropriate intervals. A few people ask about my background, and I stick to the script Chloe prepared. Yes, I have a business degree. Yes, we met at the office. Yes, we're very happy. Together, it's during one of these conversations that things get interesting. Beverly Davenport, a socialite whose husband owns half the city's real estate, corners us near the champagne fountain. Alexandra, darling, you must tell me how you two really met, she says with the kind of smile that suggests she knows more than she's letting on. The official story is so romantic, but I have a feeling there's more to it. I feel Alexandra tense beside me, but before she can respond, Beverly continues. I was having dinner at Chez Laurent last month, and I could have sworn I saw Leah there. In a server's uniform, but that couldn't be right, could it? Not if she's been working in business development at your company. The blood drains from my face. I've never worked at Chez Laurent, but Beverly's implication is clear. She thinks she's caught us in a lie, and she's testing to see how we'll respond. Beverly, Alexandra says, her voice dangerously smooth. Are you suggesting that there's something wrong with honest work? Of course not, dear. I just think it's important to know who we're welcoming into our circle. That's when something inside me snaps. I've spent my whole life being looked down on by people like Beverly Davenport. People who think they're better than me because of where I work or how much money I make. But tonight, I'm not just Leah the janitor. Tonight, I'm Alexandra Croft's fiancé. And that comes with a certain amount of power. You're absolutely right. Beverly, I say, stepping forward with a smile that's all teeth, it is important to know who you're dealing with. For instance, I know that your husband's company has been under investigation for tax evasion for the past 6 months. I also know that your son was arrested for possession last year, but Daddy's lawyers made it disappear. So when you talk about welcoming people into your circle, I have to wonder what kind of circle that really is. Beverly's face goes white, then red, then white again. How dare you? I dare because I'm not intimidated by people who think money makes them better than everyone else, I reply. Alexandra deserves better than fair weather friends who smile to her face and gossip behind her back. Beverly storms off without another word, and I suddenly realize that half the party has been listening to our conversation. My heart pounds as I wait for Alexandra to be furious with me for causing a scene. Instead, she starts laughing. Not a polite social, but a real, genuine laugh that makes her eyes crinkle at the corners. That was amazing. I probably just ruined your reputation. Are you kidding? Beverly Davenport has been spreading gossip about me for years. Someone needed to put her in her place. Alexandra's eyes are bright with something that looks like admiration. How did you know about her family's legal troubles? I read the business section of the newspaper every day. You pick up things when people think you're invisible. Alexandra stares at me like she's seeing me for the first time. There's more too. You then meets the eye. Isn't there Leah Cruz? Before I can answer, someone calls Alexandra's name from across the room. As we make our way over, I notice people looking at us differently now. There's respect in their expressions and maybe a little fear. Word travels fast in circles like this, and apparently defending Alexandra Croft comes with its own kind of social currency. The rest of the evening passes in a blur of congratulations and business discussions. Alexandra keeps me close, her hand finding mine whenever we're standing still. It's supposed to be for show, but her touch sends warmth up my arm that has nothing to do with pretending. We're standing on the hotel's terrace, taking a break from the crowd, when Alexandra turns to me with an expression I can't read. Thank you, she says quietly, for what you did in there with Beverly. You didn't have to defend me. Yes, I did. We're supposed to be engaged, remember? Partners defend each other. She steps closer and suddenly the space between us feels charged. With something that definitely isn't part of our business arrangement? Is that what we are, partners? I can smell her perfume. Something expensive and subtle that makes me want to lean closer. I thought we were business associates. Business associates don't usually look at each other the way you've been looking at me tonight. My breath catches. How have I been looking at you? Instead of answering, she reaches up and touches my face, her thumb tracing along my cheekbone. Like, you might actually like me, I do like you, I whisper. That's the problem. Why is that a problem? Because this is supposed to be fake. Because you're Alexandra Croft and I'm nobody. Because when this is over, you'll go back to your world. And I'll go back to mine, and I'll have to pretend this never happened. But I don't say any of that. Instead, I let myself lean into her touch and admit because I don't know what happens when someone like you stops needing someone like me. Alexandra's eyes search my face. What if I told you I was starting to think I might always need someone? Like you? Before I can process what that means, she's kissing me. It's soft at first, tentative, like she's asking permission. But when I kiss her back, she pulls me closer, her hands tangling in my hair and ruining the stylist's perfect updo. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. Alexandra rests her forehead against mine, and for a moment, we just stand there in the space between what's real and what's pretend. This complicates things, I manage to say. Everything about you complicates things, she replies. I'm starting to think that might not be such a bad thing. 3 weeks into our fake engagement, I'm starting to forget which parts are real and which parts are performance. Alexandra and I have fallen into a routine that feels dangerously close to actual dating. She picks me up from my apartment every morning in her sleek black car. We have coffee together in her office while she reviews contracts, and I've somehow become her unofficial advisor on everything from employee relations to board meeting strategies. The transformation in my life is surreal. I have a wardrobe full of designer clothes, a new apartment in a building with actual security, and a bank account that no longer makes me break into a cold sweat when I check the balance. But the most unsettling change is how natural it feels to be part of Alexandra's world. Like I was always meant to be sitting in boardrooms and charity events instead of mopping floors at 3 a.m. You're getting good at this, Alexandra says as we leave another business lunch where I charmed potential investors while she handled the technical details. Robert Henderson looked like he wanted to offer you a job. Maybe because I actually read the reports you gave me instead of just nodding and smiling. I adjust the collar of my silk blouse. Still not entirely comfortable with how expensive everything I'm wearing feels. Besides, someone needs to ask the questions that matter to people. Who aren't millionaires? Alexandra stops walking and looks at me with that expression she's been wearing more often lately, like she's trying to solve a puzzle that keeps changing shape. You realize you're basically doing the job of a senior consultant, right? The insights you gave about the Henderson Industries expansion plan were better than anything our strategy team came up with. Heat climbs up my neck. I just have experience with what it's like when companies make decisions without thinking about the people who actually do the work. Exactly. She steps closer, and my pulse does that fluttering thing it's been doing whenever she invades my personal space. You see things differently because you've lived differently. That perspective is valuable, Leah. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with a text message. My stomach drops when I see the name on the screen. Ivy. We need to talk. Meet me at Cafe Luna tonight at 7. This is important. Alexandra notices my expression. Everything okay? Just family stuff. I lie, shoving my phone back in my purse. Nothing urgent. But as we walk back to Alexandra's car, my mind is racing. Ivy is my ex-girlfriend, the one who broke my heart 2 years ago when she decided I wasn't ambitious enough for her long-term plans. We haven't spoken since the breakup, and her sudden desire to meet feels like a storm cloud on the horizon. That evening, I sit in Cafe Luna, nursing a coffee that's gone cold, waiting for Ivy to show up and ruin whatever fragile happiness I've been building with Alexandra. When she finally walks through the door, she looks exactly the same. Short black hair, confident stride, and that smile that used to make me forget my own name. Leah, she says, sliding into the seat across from me. You look amazing. Rich life. Suits you. What do you want, Ivy? She laughs, but there's no humor in it. Straight to the point. I always liked that about you. She leans forward, her dark eyes serious. I want to save you from making the biggest mistake of your life. And what mistake would that be? Thinking Alexandra Croft actually cares about you. Ivy pulls out her phone and shows me a series of photos. These are from her past relationships. Olivia Kensington, heir to the Kensington Hotel empire. Vanessa, Lee, daughter of a tech billionaire. Danielle Reyes, whose family owns half the oil refineries in Texas. I study the photos, my chest tightening. Alexandra with beautiful, polished women at various events over the past 5 years. All of them look like they stepped out of fashion magazines. All of them clearly from her social class. You see the pattern? Ivy continues. Alexandra Croft dates women who can match her social status and business connections. You're not her type, Leah. You're her charity project. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? Ivy leans back, crossing her arms. How long have you two been together? A month? 2 months? And in that time, has she introduced you to her family? Has she taken you to her country club? Has she done anything that suggests this is more than a temporary fling with someone exotic and different? Each question hits like a punch to the gut because they're all valid points. Alexandra has mentioned her mother several times, but we haven't met. There have been hints about family expectations and social obligations, but always in abstract terms. And while we've been to plenty of business events together, we haven't done any of the normal couple things that don't involve networking or public appearances. She's using you, Leah, Ivy says, her voice gentler now. Maybe she even thinks she cares about you. But when push comes to shove, she'd choose her world over you. They always do. I want to argue, want to defend what Alexandra and I have built together. But Ivy's words dig into insecurities I've been trying to ignore. Why do you care? You made it pretty clear 2 years ago that I wasn't worth your time because I made a mistake. Ivy reaches across the table and touches my hand. I was young and stupid, and I thought I needed someone who could help my career. But I've spent 2 years regretting letting you go. You're real, Chloe. You're honest and funny, and you see the world in ways that keep me grounded. I want another chance, I pull my hand away, my head spinning. Ivy, you can't just show up after 2 years and expect me to forget everything that happened. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to be smart. Alexandra Croft is going to break your heart when this little experiment stops being fun for her. That I'm here and I know who you really are and I'm not going anywhere. The conversation haunts me for the rest of the week. Every time Alexandra touches me, every time she smiles at me like I'm something precious, I hear Ivy's voice asking if this is real or just a charity project. The doubt grows stronger when Alexandra's mother calls to arrange a lunch meeting. She wants to meet you, Alexandra says, but her tone suggests this isn't entirely good news. My mother can be challenging, but it's important that she approves of our relationship. Challenging how? Alexandra's pause tells me everything I need to know. She has very specific ideas about the kind of woman I should marry. Ideas based on social status and family connections. Ideas that don't include janitors from working-class families. Chloe, my mother's opinions don't matter to me, but they matter to your board of directors. They matter to your business partners. They matter to the world you live in. Alexandra stops what she's doing and looks at me directly. They don't matter to me. I want to believe her, but Ivy's words have planted seeds of doubt that keep growing. When I meet Alexandra's mother at an exclusive restaurant downtown, those seeds bloom into full-grown fears. Genevieve Croft is everything I expected and worse. Tall, elegant, and sharpied, she evaluates me like I'm a business proposal she's considering rejecting. Our conversation is polite but pointed, filled with questions about my background, my education, and my family's origins. Alexandra tells me you work in business development, she says, over salad that costs more than I used to make in a day. What exactly does that entail? I stick to the script Chloe prepared, but Genevieve's skeptical expression suggests she's not buying it. I focus on employee relations and operational efficiency, making sure the company's growth strategies account for the human element. How interesting. And your family, are they in business as well? This is where the script gets thin. My parents own a small restaurant. They're hardworking people who believe in building something meaningful for their community. Genevieve's smile doesn't reach her eyes. How quaint. Alexandra has always had a soft spot for charitable causes. The words hit like a slap. She's not, even trying to hide her disdain. And the worst part is that Alexandra doesn't seem to notice or doesn't care enough to defend me. When Genevieve excuses herself to take a phone call, I turn to Alexandra. Charitable causes. My mother says things she doesn't mean when she's uncomfortable with change. She called me a charitable cause, Alexandra. She thinks you're slumming it with the help. Alexandra's jaw tightens. My mother's opinions are not my opinions. But you didn't correct her because correcting my mother in public would cause a scene that neither of us needs right now. I stare at her, seeing the careful calculation behind her words. Even now, even when her mother is insulting me to my face, Alexandra is thinking about public perception and business implications. When do I stop being a business decision for you, Chloe? That's not fair, isn't it? Ivy was right. I'm not your type. And not from your world. And when this arrangement stops being convenient for you, you'll go back to dating women who look good at country club brunches. Alexandra's face goes pale. Who is Ivy? Someone who knows me well enough to see this situation clearly. I stand up. My appetite completely gone. I need some air. I walk out of the restaurant into the busy downtown street, my mind reeling. Everything Ivy said is playing out exactly as she predicted. Alexandra's mother sees me as a charity project. Alexandra herself is more concerned with managing optics than defending our relationship. And I'm standing here in a designer dress, feeling like I'm playing dress up in someone else's life. My phone buzzes with a text from Alexandra. Please come back. We need to talk about this. But I can't go back. Not yet. Not until I figure out whether what we have is real or just an elaborate performance that I've gotten too caught up in. The truth is starting to feel like the latter, and that realization is breaking my heart in ways I didn't expect when this whole thing started. Another text arrives. This one from Ivy. Dinner tomorrow. I think you might be ready to hear what I really came back to say. I stare at both messages, caught between the woman who makes me feel like I could be more than I ever imagined and the woman who knew me before I started pretending to be someone else. The choice feels impossible, but Ivy's prediction is coming true with terrifying accuracy. Alexandra Croft is going to break my heart, and maybe it's time to protect myself before the damage becomes irreparable. The breaking point comes on a Tuesday morning when my little brother Mateo calls me crying. He's 15 and tough as nails, so hearing him fall apart over the phone makes my blood turn to ice. Chloe, you have to come home. Mama's in the hospital and Papa doesn't know what to do. They said something about her heart and they need to run more tests, but we don't have insurance for the expensive ones. I'm sitting in Alexandra's office reviewing quarterly reports when the call comes in. She's across the room in a meeting with her senior staff about the Henderson merger, which is supposed to be finalized next week. The timing couldn't be worse, but my family needs me. I'll be right there, I tell Mateo, already grabbing my purse. Tell Papa I'm on my way. Alexandra notices me heading for the door and holds up one finger to pause her meeting. Chloe, what's wrong? Family emergency? My mom's in the hospital. I'm trying to keep my voice steady, but panic is clawing at my chest. I have to go. She frowns. Glancing back at her team, can we reschedule this? The Henderson people are expecting our final proposal by 5 p.m. today. I said I have to go, Alexandra. My mother is in the hospital. Of course, I understand. Just give me 10 minutes to wrap this up and I'll drive you. I don't need you to drive me. I need you to understand that this is more important than your meeting. The room goes quiet. Alexandra's staff is trying very hard to pretend they're not listening to our conversation, but I can feel their eyes on us. Alexandra's face flushes, caught between her professional obligations and what should be basic human decency. We'll talk about this when you get back, she says finally. Take care of your family. The dismissal in her tone cuts deep. This is exactly what Ivy warned me about. When push comes to shove, Alexandra's world will always come first. I leave without another word. At the hospital, I find my parents in the emergency room waiting area. Papa looks older than I've ever seen him, his work-worn hands shaking as he holds Mama's purse. Mateo is slumped in a plastic chair, his tough guy facade completely cracked. How is she? I ask, pulling them both into a hug. They think it was a mild heart attack, Papa says in Spanish. But they want to do more tests to see if there's damage. The doctor said it could cost thousands. My stomach drops. Even with the money Alexandra has been paying me, thousands of dollars might as well be millions for my family. I think about the designer clothes hanging in my closet, the expensive dinners I've been eating, the luxury apartment I've been living in. All of it feels meaningless when my mother is lying in a hospital bed. We'll figure it out, I tell them, hoping I sound more confident than I feel. Let me talk to the doctors. The next few hours are a blur of medical jargon and insurance paperwork. The tests my mother needs aren't covered by the basic plan my father's restaurant job provides. The social worker is sympathetic but clear about the reality. Either we pay out of pocket or Mama goes home without knowing if she's at risk for another heart attack. I'm in the hospital cafeteria at midnight, staring at my phone and trying to figure out who I can call for help when Alexandra finally shows up. She looks perfect as always, still in her business suit from the meeting that was apparently more important than my family crisis. Chloe, I'm sorry. I came as soon as I could get away. 12 hours later, she sits down across from me and I can see the exhaustion in her eyes. The Henderson meeting ran long, and then there was an emergency board session about the merger timeline. I tried to call, but it went straight to voicemail. My phone died hours ago. I lean back in the uncomfortable plastic chair. How did the meeting go? Fine. Good, actually. We're moving forward with the timeline. She reaches across the table like she's going to take my hand, then seems to think better of it. How's your mother? She needs tests that cost more money than my family has ever seen at one time. But don't worry, it shouldn't interfere with your merger schedule. Alexandra flinches. That's not fair, Chloe. You know, I care about your family. Do I? Because when my mother was having a heart attack, you were more concerned about impressing the Henderson people than being here for me. I was trying to secure our future. This merger affects both of us. No, it affects you. I'm just the accessory you're wearing to make it happen. The words hang between us like a blade. Alexandra's face goes pale, and for a moment, I think she might actually acknowledge what this relationship really is. Instead, she straightens her shoulders and slips back into CEO mode. If you need money for your mother's medical bills, I can. Write a check tonight. I don't want your charity, Alexandra. It's not charity. We're engaged. Supporting each other's families is what couples do. Are we a couple, or are we business partners playing dress up? I stand up, suddenly too exhausted to keep pretending, because right now it feels like you're my boss offering to pay for a problem, so it doesn't interfere with work. Alexandra stands too, and I can see her struggling between the woman who kissed me on that hotel terrace and the CEO who spent her whole life prioritizing business over everything else. Laya, you're upset and you're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in weeks. I pick up my dead phone and shove it in my purse. I need to get back to my family. Real family, not the fake one I've been playing house with. What's that supposed to mean? It means this whole thing was a mistake. You need someone who can play the part without forgetting it's just a performance. Someone who won't inconvenience you with real problems or real emotions. Alexandra's composure finally cracks. You think this has all been a performance for me, hasn't it? When your mother insulted me, you worried about making a scene instead of defending me. When my family needed me, you worried about your meeting, instead of being supportive. Every decision you make puts your business first and me second. That's not true? Then prove it. Choose me over the merger. Choose me over your mother's approval. Choose me over the perfect life you've built where everything has its place and nothing unexpected is allowed to matter. The silence stretches between us. Alexandra opens her mouth like she's going to say something, then closes it again. Her hesitation tells me everything I need to know. That's what I thought, I say, turning toward the exit. Tell your board they don't have to worry about me anymore. I'm sure you can find someone more suitable to finish out this arrangement. I walk away before she can respond, but I can feel her watching me go. Part of me hopes she follow, hopes she choose me over everything else for once. But Alexandra Croft doesn't chase after people. She makes calculated decisions based on what's best for business. And I was never going to be best for business. The next few days pass in a haze of hospital visits and family obligations. My mother's tests come back, showing minor damage, but nothing life-threatening. The bills are still astronomical, but Papa's brother offers to help with a loan that will probably be paying off for the next decade. It's not the fairy tale solution I'd hoped for, but it's real in a way that nothing about my life with Alexandra ever was. I move back to my old apartment and return my designer clothes to the boxes they came in. Chloe calls twice to discuss transition logistics, but I let the calls go to voicemail. Whatever legal paperwork needs to be handled can wait until I'm ready to face the reality of what I'm walking away from. On Friday, Ivy shows up at my door with takeout from our old favorite restaurant and a bottle of wine that costs more than I used to make in a week. I heard about your mom, she says, settling onto my couch like she belongs there. How is she doing? Better. Scared, but better. I accept the wine gratefully. How did you hear about it? Alexandra Croft's assistant called my office looking for you. Apparently, you're not answering your phone. I take a long sip of wine. There's nothing left to say. Is that why you look like you haven't slept in a week? I'm fine, Ivy. No, you're not. You're heartbroken? She sets down her wine and looks at me seriously. Leah, I need to tell you something. The reason I really came back. If you're going to say I told you so, I already know. I'm not here to gloat. I'm here because I lied to you at the cafe. Ivy takes a deep breath. I didn't come back because I realized I made a mistake. I came back because I was jealous. I saw the pictures of you and Alexandra Croft in the society pages, and I couldn't stand watching you be happy with someone else. I stare at her. What are you saying? I'm saying I sabotaged your relationship because I wanted you back, but not for the right reasons. I wanted to win, not because I love you. She reaches over and takes my hand. You were glowing in those pictures, Leah, happier than I ever saw you when we were together, and I destroyed that because I was selfish. Alexandra destroyed it herself. When she chose business over me. Did she? Or did you walk away because I planted enough doubt to make you question something that was real? I pull my hand away, anger flaring. You're seriously trying to blame me for this? I'm trying to get you to see that maybe you both made mistakes. Maybe she didn't fight for you because you made it clear you'd already decided it was over. Ivy stands up, pacing to the window. I know Alexandra Croft's type, Leah. I've worked with women like her my whole career. They don't fake emotions for business deals. They don't need to. You said she was using me. I said what I needed to say. To break you up, but the truth is I've never seen anyone look at you the way she did in those pictures. Like you were the most important person in the world. The words hit me like a physical blow. I think about Alexandra's face when I defended her at the charity gala. The way she looked at me when I wore that first dress. The tenderness in her voice when she said she might always need someone like me. Was that real, or was I just seeing what I wanted to see? It doesn't matter now, I say finally. She made her choice. So, did you? The question is whether either of you chose what you actually wanted. Ivy leaves me with that thought in a heart that's somehow more broken than it was before. Because now I have to consider the possibility that I didn't just lose Alexandra. I might have thrown her away. 2 weeks after our breakup, I'm back to working the night shift at Croft Global. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm once again invisible. In the building where I was briefly the CEO's fiancée. The executive floor feels different now, haunted by memories of conversations that mattered and touches that felt real. Alexandra's office is dark most nights. According to the day shift gossip, she's been working from her home office, avoiding the building where we spent so much time together. I tell myself I'm relieved not to run into her, but every time I push my cart past her empty office, something in my chest aches. My mother is recovering well, though the stress of the medical bills has aged my father visibly. I've been working double shifts to help cover the costs, sleeping 4 hours a night and living on coffee and determination. It's exactly the life I had before Alexandra, except now I know what I'm missing. The worst part is the dreams. I wake up every morning for the first few seconds thinking I'm still engaged to the most powerful woman in the city. Then reality crashes back and I remember that I'm Leah Cruz, the janitor again, invisible and forgot. It's during one of these sleepless shifts that I find the sketch. I'm cleaning Alexandra's office, which her assistant said I could do since. She's been working remotely. The office feels like a museum of our relationship. Everything exactly as she left it, except for one thing on her desk. My sketch of her from that night in her apartment, the one I drew while she was sleeping. I thought I'd left it at her place, but here it is carefully placed where she would see it every time she sat down. Next to it is something that makes my breath catch. It's a brochure for the Reyes Foundation Art Scholarship Program. A full ride scholarship for working-class artists to attend the Metropolitan Art Institute. The application deadline was last week, but someone has written application. Submitted on behalf of Leah Cruz in the margin along with Alexandra's initials. I sink into her leather chair, staring at the brochure with hands that won't stop shaking. She applied for a scholarship in my name. Even after I walked away, even after I accused her of treating me like a charity project, she was still trying to help me pursue my dreams. My phone buzzes with a text from Mateo. Come home now. There's someone here you need to see. The drive to my parents' house feels endless. When I pull up to the small restaurant my family runs, I can see through the windows that all the lights are on. Even though we closed hours ago, my whole family is gathered around one of the tables. And sitting with them, looking completely out of place in her designer suit, is Alexandra. I walk through the door to find her attempting to speak Spanish with my grandmother. Her pronunciation is terrible, but she's trying to ask about my grandmother's arthritis medication. Abua is charmed, patting Alexandra's hand and correcting her grammar with the patience she usually reserves for small children. Let, my mother says, standing up with a smile I haven't seen since before her heart attack. Your fiancée came to introduce herself properly. Mama, we're not engaged anymore. That's not what she told us, Papa says, gesturing to Alexandra. She said there was a misunderstanding that she wants to fix. Alexandra stands up, and I can see the exhaustion in her face. She looks like she hasn't been sleeping any better than I have. Leah, can we talk, please? I don't think that's a good idea. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking for. My family is watching this exchange like it's their favorite telenovela. Mateo nudges me toward the door. Go talk to her, stupid. She drove all the way out here to see you. Against my better judgment, I follow Alexandra outside to the small patio behind the restaurant. The night air is warm, and I can hear the distant sounds of traffic and late-night music from the neighbors. It's a world away from the sterile corporate environments where we used to meet. You applied for that scholarship, I say before she can. Speak, you found it. She looks embarrassed, like she's been caught doing something wrong. I should have asked first, but the deadline was approaching, and I thought you might not apply yourself out of pride. You thought right, Chloe. I've been doing a lot of thinking since you left about what you said at the hospital, about the choices I make and what I prioritize. She takes a deep breath. You were right about almost everything. Almost, you were wrong about one thing. This was never just a performance for me. Alexandra steps closer, and I can see the vulnerability in her eyes. It stopped being fake. The moment you defended me at that charity gala, maybe even before that. Alexandra, don't. We both know this was never going to work. Why? Because I made mistakes, because I'm still learning how to put someone else first. She reaches into her purse and pulls out an envelope. I resigned as CEO of Croft Industries yesterday. The words hit me like a physical blow. You what? I'm stepping down. The board can find someone else to marry off for their business deals. She hands me the envelope. This is my resignation letter. I'm starting my own consulting firm. Something smaller and more flexible. Something that lets me make decisions based on what I want instead of what's expected of me. I stare at the letter without opening it. Alexandra, you can't do this. That company is your life. No, you're my life. Or you were until I was too scared to admit it. She takes my hands in hers. I've spent 32 years building walls to protect myself from exactly this kind of vulnerability, but loving you is worth tearing them all down. Loving me, the words come out as barely a whisper. I love you, Chloe. I love your honesty and your strength and the way you see straight through all the garbage that doesn't matter. I love that you make me want to be better than I am. Tears are streaming down her face now. I love you, and I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. Alexandra, I want to believe her, but Ivy's warnings and my own fears are still echoing in my head. What happens when your mother disowns you? What happens when your friends decide I'm not worth the social embarrassment? What happens when you realize you gave up everything for someone who mops floors? What happens is I get to spend my life with someone who challenges me to be my best self instead of my most profitable self. Alexandra wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. And for the record, you've never been someone who mops floors. You're an artist who happens to be working as a janitor. There's a difference, is there? Yes, and I should have seen it from the beginning. She pulls out another piece of paper. I've been taking drawing classes, terrible ones. My instructor says I have no natural talent whatsoever. I look at the paper and try not to laugh. It's a sketch of me, or at least I think it's supposed to be me. The proportions are all wrong and the shading is inconsistent, but there's something heartbreakingly earnest about the attempt. It's awful, I say, but I'm smiling despite myself. It's the worst art ever created by human hands. Alexandra agrees. But I drew it because I wanted to see you the way you see the world. I wanted to understand what it feels like to create something instead of just acquiring it. I study her face, looking for any sign that this is another performance, another calculated business decision. But all I see is the woman who kissed me on a hotel terrace and made me feel like I could be more than I ever imagined. Alexandra, I'm scared. So am I terrified, actually. She steps closer until we're almost touching. But I'd rather be scared. With you then safe without you. What if we mess this up again? Then we'll figure it out together. No more business arrangements. No more fake engagements. Just us trying to build something real. I look at the terrible sketch in my hands, at the resignation letter that represents Alexandra choosing me over everything she's worked for, at the woman who learned Spanish phrases just to talk to my grandmother. And suddenly the fear doesn't matter as much as the possibility. My family really likes you, I say. Your grandmother taught me how to say I love you in Spanish. Want to hear it? Probably. Te amo, Leah Cruz. Her pronunciation is still terrible, but the words sound perfect. Anyway, I love you and I want to build a life with you if you'll let me. Instead of answering, I kiss her. It's different from our first kiss. Less desperate and more certain. This time, I'm not kissing Alexandra Croft, the CEO. I'm kissing Alexandra, the woman who gave up her empire to draw terrible sketches and learn my grandmother's language. When we break apart, she rests her forehead against mine. Is that a yes? That's a yes to trying again. A yes to building something real. A yes to being scared together and the scholarship. I'll think about it. But first, you need to come inside and let my mother feed you. She's been cooking for an hour and she'd be offended if you don't eat everything she made. Alexandra laughs, and the sound is lighter than I've ever heard it. Should I be worried? Terrified? She's going to ask you about your intentions and your family medical history. She's also going to try to teach you how to make tamales. I'm a disaster in the kitchen. I know. It's going to be hilarious. We walk back into the restaurant hand in hand, and my family erupts in cheers like they've been eavesdropping the entire time, which they definitely have. My mother immediately starts setting places for everyone, and my father breaks out the good tequila he saves for special occasions. Mia, my grandmother, says to Alexandra in heavily accented English, "You make my Chloe happy." Yes, I'm going to. Try my best. Alexandra replies in her terrible Spanish. Good, you try, we help. Abua pats Alexandra's cheek like she's already family. Now sit, eat, learn to be part of this family. As I watch Alexandra attempt to navigate dinner with my chaotic, loving, overwhelming family, I realize that this is what I was missing before. Not the money or the fancy clothes or the social status, but the feeling of belonging somewhere with someone who chooses to be there. 6 months later, I'm standing in a gallery downtown, watching people examine my paintings with serious expressions and hushed voices. The scholarship Alexandra found for me led to this exhibition, my first solo show. The walls are covered with portraits of working people, my family, the night shift workers who keep the city running while everyone else sleeps. Alexandra appears at my elbow, gorgeous in a simple black dress that she picked out herself. Her consulting firm is thriving, and she looks happier than I've ever seen her, more relaxed, more herself. How does it feel? She asks, watching a woman in expensive jewelry study my painting of my mother's hands. Surreal. Good. Surreal. But still surreal. You deserve this, Chloe. You've always deserved this. An art critic approaches us, wanting to interview the artist about her inspiration and technique. As I answer his questions, I catch Alexandra's eye across the room. She's talking to my parents, laughing at something my father said, completely at ease in a world that's nothing like the one she grew up in. Later, after the last guest has left and we're cleaning up wine glasses and gallery programs, Alexandra pulls out a small velvet box. I have something for you, she says, suddenly nervous in a way that makes my heart race. Inside the box is a ring, but not the kind of massive diamond I would have expected. It's a simple band with a small stone that catches the gallery lights in subtle ways. I designed it myself, Alexandra says, based on your sketches of light and shadow. I wanted something that was ours, not something that looked like it belonged to someone else. Alexandra, I know we said no more fake engagements, but I was hoping we could try a real one. She takes the ring out of the box with trembling fingers. Marry me, Chloe, not for business or appearances or anyone else's expectations. Marry me because I love you and I want to spend my life creating beautiful things with you. I hold out my hand, watching her slide the ring onto my finger. It fits perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. Yes, I say, pulling her into a kiss that tastes like wine and promises and new beginnings. Yes to everything.